King, the pro wrestler with a jaguar mask. Being one of the most recognizable characters in Tekken history, he can either be on top of his game or just being a side character in the story. So in this video, I'll be ranking King's role in the story in every canon Tekken game, ranking him from useless to King of the Iron Fist. First, let's talk about King 1. Born in Mexico, King was once an orphan in the streets who cared about nothing but fighting. But one day, he would get into a fight, which ended with him getting seriously injured. While walking down the street injured, he would collapse in front of a church. The priests of the church brought King in and helped him recover from his wounds. After his recovery, King recognized the error of his ways of fighting in the streets and resolves it by beginning a new life where he becomes a Catholic priest. King then dreamed of one day building an orphanage in order to save the other orphans from becoming the kind of person King used to be. Although King was able to successfully build the orphanage that he dreamed of, funds for the orphanage were tight. So in order to bring money to the orphanage, King would become a professional wrestler, or a luchador in Mexican culture. He would then participate in wrestling matches and wearing his signature jaguar mask to cover his identity, and taking on the title of the Beast Priest. During this time, King would come across Armor King, another wrestler wearing a jaguar mask. During the fight between the two wrestlers, King would accidentally injure Armor King's eye. Ever since then, King would go on to become a star in professional wrestling in Mexico, while Armor King's career started to plummet. Sometime later, the first King of Iron Fist tournament was announced. With a large amount of money being the prize of the tournament, King saw this as an opportunity to enter the tournament to support the orphanage. While in the tournament, King would once again come face to face with Armor King, who's looking to settle the score between them and re-establish his name in the wrestling world. King wins for the second time against Armor King. They then decide to put aside their differences and become not just friends, but sparring partners too. King would then go on to get third place in the tournament and manages to secure enough money to support the orphanage. And that's it for King in Tekken 1. From the beginning, we've already seen great development in his character. From being a street orphan who likes to fight, becoming a priest, and building an orphanage to save others that were just like him. Although he didn't win the tournament, it's already a great start for King, so I'ma say he's active in Tekken 1. Sometime after the first tournament, King's orphanage was starting to struggle. It's also in this time that an orphan would die while in King's care. This would send King into a deep depression to the point where he would throw away the jaguar mask and run away. He then spends his days inside of bars, drinking his problems away. King would then walk in an alleyway behind a bar, drunk and depressed. But at the lowest point of his life, Armor King throws King the mask that he left behind and motivates him to get up and return to the orphanage as he is still needed there. Armor King also tells him that the second tournament is coming up and convinces him to train for it. King manages to recover from his depression and alcohol problems and starts training hard for the tournament. Sadly, neither King or Armor King got very far in the tournament. After the tournament ended, King would return to the orphanage and start teaching the orphans his fighting skills in order to teach them self-defense. Already in the second game, King goes through an emotional battle with himself because of the events that happened in Tekken 2. From the orphanage struggling, an orphan dying, King going through depression, Armor King helping him recover, and moving on to teach the orphans self-defense. Although he doesn't do a lot compared to the first game, he makes up for it by recovering from his depression and drinking problems. Overall, I'ma say King's alright in Tekken 2. In Tekken 3, things would take an unfortunate turn, as the first King was attacked and killed by the god of fighting, Ogre. When this news reached the orphanage, the people realized that without King, there would not be enough money to keep the orphanage from crumbling due to the lack of funds. Luckily, one of the orphans that was taken in by the first King decided to take up the mantle of King and wear his jaguar mask, becoming the King that you now see in future games, King 2. But due to being inexperienced in wrestling and only imitating the first King, he would lose every competition he entered. Thankfully, Armor King saw the new King and went to visit him. Out of respect for the first King, King would go on to train King 2. After 4 years of hard training, King managed to become a worthy successor to the first King. It's also during this time that Armor King tells King about what happened to the first King, that he was actually killed by Ogre. When the third tournament was announced, King entered the tournament to not only gain money to support the orphanage, but take his revenge on Ogre. We don't know how far King went into the tournament, but he wasn't able to fight Ogre, as it was Paul Phoenix and Jin Kazama that managed to defeat the God of Fighting. Even though the first king was sadly killed, the second king managed to be a worthy successor with the help of Armor King, showing that all those 4 years of training paid off in the end. Even though he didn't win the third tournament, I'ma say King's alright in Tekken 3. Now before we get into King's story in Tekken 4, I need to quickly talk about Armor King. During the events of Tekken 2, Armor King was suffering from a heart condition and would continue to get worse over the next 15 years. With this information, let's talk about a new character in the story, Crank Marduk. Crank Marduk is a Vale Tudo fighter from Australia. He was a feared fighter in the competition and would become undefeated for 4 straight years. Unfortunately for Marduk, he would be expelled from the professional ranks due to a minor scandal. Due to his bitterness towards his peers and society, Marduk was consumed by his anger. One day in a bar in Arizona, Marduk started a bar fight. Coincidentally, Armor King was there in the bar and tried to defuse the whole fight, but instead, Marduk would end up killing Armor King. Marduk would be sentenced to 10 years in prison for his crimes. Once King learnt of his mentor's death, he swore that he would get revenge on the man who killed him. King used the money that he earned from pro wrestling tournaments to get Marduk out of prison. He also sent Marduk a plane ticket and a news article about the 4th tournament. With King's plans in motion, he heads off to the tournament to get his revenge on Marduk. During the 4th tournament, King and Marduk would finally face each other. And King beats Marduk so badly he ends up in the hospital. Bro basically did him like this!
King, please stop.
KO.
After their match, King goes to the hospital where Marduk is, so he can finish him off. But then he sees a picture of Marduk and his family. Realizing that revenge is not the answer, he gives up on his revenge and leaves the hospital. And that's it for King in Tekken 4. In this game, he's much more active than he was in Tekken 3. Going on his revenge arc, getting Marduk out of prison to fight him, brutally defeating Marduk, and sparing him in the hospital. Even though he refused to kill Marduk, he definitely stood on business in this game. So I'ma say he's active in Tekken 4. Sometime after the 4th tournament, Marduk managed to recover from his fight with King and was released from the hospital. Infuriated by his loss to King, Marduk would go on to train harder than ever in order to become strong enough to defeat King. Marduk would then enter a Vale Tudo tournament while wearing a black Jaguar mask. King sees a big screen that shows Marduk challenging him to a rematch while wearing a black Jaguar mask in order to taunt King. King refused to let his master's name be disgraced any further, so he accepts the rematch and enters the tournament to fight Marduk. During the tournament, King runs into Julia Chang. Julia tells King to stop the fighting and to not let Marduk's words get to him. King refuses to listen and then Julia attempts to stop him. King then defeats Julia and then moves on to the next round. King and Marduk then meet each other once again. Marduk, feeling better than ever, claims that he'll win this match fair and square. And then King beats him again. But unlike last time, King offers Marduk a helping hand. They then put aside their differences and end up forming a friendship. And that's it for King in Tekken 5. Even though he's not as active as he was in Tekken 4, he makes up for it by not only defeating Marduk, but managing to put their differences aside and forming a friendship with Marduk. Overall, I'ma say he's alright. After the 5th tournament, Marduk went into his locker room, only for the lights to go out and suddenly be attacked. When the lights came back on, he caught a glimpse of the person who attacked him, and it turned out to be a person who looked like Armor King. When King was told about this, he was furious about it and tried to find the attacker, but was unsuccessful in his attempt. Sometime afterwards, King would go over to his room and look at an old picture of Armor King. He then accidentally drops the photo and it shatters. King then discovers a hidden photo behind the first one, a picture of 2 Armor Kings. Meanwhile, Marduk is at the cemetery digging up the grave of the first king to make sure he's dead. He then opens the coffin and then sees a body inside. Once Marduk made sure Armor King was in fact dead, suddenly Armor King appears. King also appears to question the true identity of Armor King. And it's here where it's revealed that this is the brother of the first Armor King, who is here to get his revenge on Marduk for killing his brother. Armor King 2 says he can never forgive Marduk for what he has done. And that's it for King in Tekken 6. He doesn't get to do much in this game's story, and it also doesn't help that he's caught in the middle of the battle between Marduk and Armor King. So I'ma say King's just sidelined in Tekken 6. So in Tekken 7, we find out that in King's bio that Marduk and Armor King did fight each other. The fight ended up being so brutal that they both ended up being hospitalized for their injuries. Sometime after, Marduk recovers faster than expected and goes to try and kill Armor King while he's still recovering, but King manages to stop him. King then tells Marduk that if he wants a rematch with Armor King, he would have to wait for him to fully recover. Marduk agrees to these terms and writes a letter to Armor King. Once Armor King wakes up in the hospital, he saw the letter that Marduk wrote, saying that they would have a retirement match, where the loser of the match would have to retire from fighting for good. But in Armor King's case, if he loses, he not only has to retire, but remove the Jaguar mask from his face. As for King himself, he went to go enter the 7th tournament to not only get the money to support the orphanage, but pay off the medical bills for Marduk and Armor King. But due to the events of the main story, we don't know what King was doing during the events of Tekken 7. And that's it for King in Tekken 7. Once again, he doesn't get to do all that much in the Tekken 7 story, especially when the focus of the story is centered around the Mishimas. So once again, I'ma say he's sidelined. Kazuya, after his battle with Jin, announces the 8th tournament. King enters the tournament and makes it far enough to enter the Colosseum. He then has a match against Steve Fox, and the winner is left unknown because it's up to the player to decide who wins. Afterwards, King joins the fight against G Corporation, and in the good ending, we see King help run a soup kitchen with the other characters. And that's it for King in Tekken 8. Thankfully he gets to do more in the story, but not an entire lot. Overall, I'ma say King's alright. Thank you for watching my 4th episode on How Useless Are the Tekken Characters series. I wanted to do a different character this time because honestly, outside of the Mishimas, King has one of the best storylines in Tekken. I plan to do Heihachi for the next episode, so stay tuned for that one. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'ma see you later.